Whitney Frost makes her Dark Force bomb. Jack Thompson is the master of deception. And Jarvis has a cold-blooded killer inside him. But for understandable reasons. It's Agent Carter, Season 2, Episodes 8 and 9. Edge of Mystery and a little song and dance. Alright, spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. In fact, we're going to be going right into it. So if you haven't seen the show yet, why are you watching this? Go watch the show and then come back to here. Okay? Ready? And we're in. Okay, perfect. We've got a nice double episode this week leading up to the finale for next week. So I'm really just going to try and hit some high points, a couple question points, and then move on. Another great couple of episodes, but like I said, let's start off with the big one, at least in my eyes, and that is Edwin Jarvis is a cold-blooded killer. He's got a little bit of darkness in him. And it's entirely justified. I mean, again, as we start out, Anna has been shot by Whitney Frost. And if that's not bad enough, we found out that as a result of complications to her injuries, she can no longer have children. So if there's anything that is really going to drive Jarvis, that's going to be it. And I did like the sequence building up to those big moments, especially the one that he had with Rose in her office, where he's just like, "Here, can you take care of my wife?" And her confusion with that, and then that last little shot of the piece of paper that for Rose just immediately knows what it is. We find out later on it's his last will and testament, so of course that's going to imply that he may not be coming back. But the sequence when he runs into Whitney, I think, was beautifully and directly handled, simply because of the format of the show, because of the style that they're doing, there's a lot of cheese, and we're going to go into that into a minute as well. There's a lot of build-up, there's a lot of kind of classic good guy, bad guy actions and tropes that goes into the show, and some of it gives it some fun character. Sometimes I think it goes a little too much. But this was perfect, because he drives up, walks up, Whitney Frost is freaking out because of the whole explosion thing and that Wilkes has been damaged. And he just says, "Whitney Frost," and just plugs her twice. There's no talk, there's no conversation, there's no, "You shot my wife." There is none of that. He just walks up and shoots her. And again, for a show that's kind of more on the lighthearted side of Marvel, this was a really dark, direct moment. And I think it gave it a real nice weight right there. And then, of course, that leads up to the conversation between Peggy and Jarvis regarding kind of how they're both interacting with these adventures. I mean, as Peggy tells Jarvis, this is how you've looked at it. They're adventures, they're larks, there is no weight, there's no consequence. It's a fun thing to do in the evening and to tell stories later. Whereas for Peggy, she's lost several people. I mean, between last season and this season, she's lost friends, she's lost co-workers, she's lost roommates. Not to mention, everything that was back in the war. So these are much, of course, heavier, weightier instances for Peggy, and that Jarvis is now having to experience the actual weight, the actual danger, the actual potential consequences of doing this type of work. I thought was a nice trade back and forth, really tearing each other down appropriately and quickly, and then healing up, also rather nice. So convenient, but still I thought well done. Speaking of Wilkes and Frost, I did love the opening bit where we had Whitney experimenting on Wilkes, just sitting down with her pad of paper and pencil and like, "Okay, I give you some Dark Force, and this should be about 2 minutes this time, okay? And the next time we're going to try this, and we're going to try..." It was really nice to sort of step back and see that cold scientific aspect of Whitney Frost. She has really more embraced that as the series has gone on, and that being such a strong point of her character, I thought was just very appropriate. And also that she is so emotionally detached, she doesn't even really see the fact that he's kind of tortured. She's just like, "What? Of course, we're two physicists. We should be trading information, right?" Again, really no understanding of that emotional consequence that her actions have been having. And this really works nicely for convincing Wilkes to come over to her side, which we don't see, but I love her line of saying, if you accept it, then you will gain control. You know, that was really the part. Of course, accepting the dark force into you is going to adjust not only your physiology, but your viewpoint on the world, as we've seen that has happened with Brittany Frost, and we get the ideas of that establishing in with Wilkes. And of course, once she has done that, he is able to sort of turn on Peggy in that moment in the truck, which I thought, again, was really well done. This is a spy show. I mean, amongst everything else, amongst it being part of the Marvel Universe, its real basis is as a spy show. And so this deception, this back and forth, I thought actually did play really well in this episode. When, you know, Wilkes finally turns it on Peggy and Selza, was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting some sort of trap, some sort of something to happen. What bothers me is the fact that the characters in the show were not expecting it. I get that Wilkes' turn was a surprise, but going in and dealing with Brittany Frost and they're trying to give the fake uranium rods to her in exchange for Wilkes, they should have been expecting some sort of trap, some sort of thing to go wrong, and it didn't seem like they had any backup, which again is kind of surprising for people that are working in the spy industry. The person that does have backup and really is one of the more impressive characters through these episodes, which surprised me even more, is Jack Thompson. His character, I think, is one of the most interesting in these final episodes because everybody else is acting as we expect them to. You know, Peggy is the hero. Jarvis is her backup. Salza is the love-obsessed, side. Everybody's sort of fulfilling their appropriate roles. Jack keeps switching it up, and from a spy thriller standpoint, I think he does the best. I mean, his opening sequence where he's, hey, go in, and then immediately drops the act, is totally sober, and is looking through the paperwork. You know, that was great. And I love the little reader that just unredacts government documents. Well, that's actually a convenient little tool. I like that. But throughout it, Jack is the one that you're always wondering, where is he going? The fact that he does finally turn on Vernon Masters at the end. He has that conversation with Peggy beforehand where she just points out, and I love that fact also, that she doesn't even look at the report. It's just, how can you trust this? You want something and suddenly it magically appears in your hands and you think that there's validity to it. The fact that she didn't even look at it, just sort of tossed it back, I thought, from a character standpoint, was great, and for moving the story forward, that establishes, and with Jack, is maybe there is something to it. She's not even looking at what this says. What we find is that Jack really is a good person at heart. He wants to get ahead. Of course he does. But at a point he realizes that there are certain lines even he can't cross. And I thought that was a great sort of reveal, because he has been the person that we've questioned back and forth throughout the series, and for legitimate reasons. The fact that he's able to go through, and again, he's like the master of deception. Every scene that he has throughout episode 9 is just, he's doing one thing, but he is meaning another. He is saying this, but he is doing that. And I think that was really kind of the best presentation of character that we've had from him, and it really kind of bolstering up. One, he's not a villain, so we're gonna like him more. But two, whatever he is saying, we are wondering, is that what he really means? What is his backstory? I mean, even all the way up to the end, when they finally realized that it was the bomb that was going, it was, who is he working for? Is he deceiving Salza? Is he deceiving Peggy? Is he deceiving Vernon? Is he deceiving all of them? You know, is he trying, which side of the fence is he on? And I think the fact that he can continue to keep that up in the air for us as an audience just makes it so much more interesting. And I can't go on without really addressing it. I hit it earlier on. It's the cheese. I love cheese. I'm an extremely cheesy guy. I like all of that goofiness and bad puns and things like that. Part of that's why I've really enjoyed the show. But sometimes they go a little too far. There are circumstances, I mean, Manfredi's character is really just the over-the-top stereotypical mobster. The whole scene with him in the kitchen yelling at his mom as he's making the pasta, and then he sits, I mean, that's just a parody of Goodfellas and any other kind of mob film. Yes, it works within the context of the show, I guess, but just a little too much. Sometimes they push it a little too far, even with the convenience of things. I mean, when later on when they do the exchange for Wilkes, and they just happen to drop the highly volatile, dangerous, could explode if you rig them too much, uranium rods. Some of these things are just a little too much. Now, the one thing I can talk about Manfredi is that he knows how to talk to his lady. When Whitney is hiding her face and like, you don't want to see, oh, it's all horrible. Manfredi's the man in love, and he does say the right things. Look, this is great. This is who you are. In fact, this is a sign of power, and I like power. So that's, you know, in that sense, that is a really good character, and certainly is listening to Whitney, certainly has that respect and love and is acting in that way. We can see that his motivations and his actions tend to follow that. But he is definitely one of the cheesier characters. I mean, we have Samberly, who's just the complainer and such, and some of this is used for good comic intent. But sometimes I think they just go a little further than they need to. Like the opening of A Little Song and Dance. It was cute. I loved starting out in black and white, and I loved how it slowly introduced color in the scene. It started out with green, and then there was blue, and then there was the red, and then they were in the bar, and that was very nice. And yes, it's 50s, so a musical bit does sort of fit in the context of the era, but to me it was kind of a waste of time. I wanted to move on with the story, and I realized that is just me. It was a beautiful little bit, and it was a great reflection back at different characters and introduction of, you know, we had this person, you know, the old roommate, and Dottie shows up, and Salza had, you know, can do his whole dance. Yes, it was lovely, and it was a well done bit from a direction orchestral standpoint. I just thought more than what the show really needs. There's so much happening, it just starts to feel like a little filler. They're doing a couple more episodes this season than they did in the last season, and I thought last season was a lot tighter. There seems to be, with the extra time, there seems to be a little floatiness, a little filler, like we're trying to get to these points of the story, but we've got more time than story bits, so let's throw some things in. I think a tighter show moving from point to point would be much better than trying to add in extra time just for cheesy entertainment's sake. We're with the show. You don't have to go that way. So at the end, we've got, Wilkes infused with the massive dark force energy. Quick question, after they blew up the portal with the gamma gun, where did he come from? He didn't fall. I rewound it and watched it like 3 times. I did the slow motion bit. He doesn't fall. He gets sucked into there, disappears. They blow it up, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's down on the ground in the hole. I don't know where he came from. Just really one shot of him falling. That's all that they needed. Otherwise, it gets confusing for us. So Wilkes has the dark force energy in him, the zero matter. Whitney's trying to pull that out, and it becomes a little back and forth. At the end, she's talking with Vernon. Wilkes pushes Peggy away, says, no, don't save me, need to get away, I'm dangerous, and runs in the room. I love the sequence with when Whitney's trying to kill Vernon, and he just sees a little flashing light. It's like, you've been screwed too, we're both gonna go. For a person of like Vernon, if he's not gonna win, at least if the other person can lose, that's a plus in his point. But then Wilkes walks in and he explodes with dark force energy. And that's the end of it. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? There is 1 episode left. The season finale is next week. So we have all of this that we have to wrap up. Whitney Frost is gonna be top of her danger. How's Peggy gonna stop her? Did they end up blowing up the gamma thing? Did that stop it? What happens in there, I don't know. None of us know, but we're going to find out next week, and we will be talking about it right here. Come on back week after week. I appreciate it so much. Press like if you did enjoy my ramblings and thoughts on these episodes. Subscribe. Like I said, come back every week. We do this show. We do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when this is over. We're also doing Black Sails and Walking Dead. I would love to try and get some more stuff done, but right now my schedule is kind of full on this. If you do have comments, questions, remarks, critiques, write them in the section below. I look at everything, I respond to everything, and it really means a lot to me to hear from you. I'm D, and I am out of here. I will see you guys next week. You have a good one. Take it easy.